Hello and welcome to another Best Junglers episode, this one for patch 15.2, or whatever the hell the Morse code is that Riot are using. Feature strength has been changed though, Atacant has been shifted, and we have a few developments in the meta for the new year, including buffs to certain champions that were directly hit by the removal of Eyeball Collection, still one of the weirdest changes I've ever seen in my life. But as always, our job is to adapt and overcome and figure out how to best maximize our juggling. For that, the eternal fundamentals are, well, eternal. And for that, you need Virkayu.gg. Not only do I have a free jungle improvement resource, I also have a dedicated program with jungle video courses, jungle coaching classes, a jungle VOD library. We already have a lot of community VOD reviews and coaching classes for Season 15, sharing all the tips and tricks to reach new peaks in this season. All the fundamentals you need for right now are available in a ridiculous amount of hours for content tailored for your MMR so you can climb to reach your peak rank as fast as possible. So to hit your peak rank in Season 15 and jungle diff every game you play, head to the link in the description below or to Virkayu.gg. Right, on over to the S tier page, we have Virkayu number 1, and I don't think anybody's gonna argue with me about this one. It's incredible how certain champions now are just allowed to get away with absolutely everything, build whatever they want, and be good in any single meta. Now obviously, you might value a different jungler, like maybe you think Wukong should be number 1, but I don't think anybody thinks that Virkayu isn't one of the top tier meta-defining junglers. Obviously, because of his kit being just good all the time, people kind of forget about this. They get bored at seeing it and recognizing, oh look, another Virkayu. This is a good recommendation for a ban, or the Wukong. You're going to see these a lot. The Wukong gives you a lot more cheese to deal with, but the Virkayu, not affected by the eyeball removal, and of course, when they removed eyeball and changed that whole row, they forgot that Conqueror and then Booties and Cosmic, that has been the default page for the longest period of time, and you know, when you shift around assassins, you remove the snowballing from the AD and put it into plants, these champions that run the Conqueror, Booties, and Cosmic, they typically get a lot better off, you know, or if you're running Phase Rush and things like this or Grasp. And simply put, Virkayu is the king of that pile because he gets around the map, he's able to fight, control, counter jungle, and guess what? If everybody's gonna overcommit for your Atacans and things like that, the resets will cometh, whether you're behind or ahead. For Lee Sin, it's a fisting meta, it's a fighting meta, and again, same reason he is going to be good just like Virkayu. Now while he doesn't have the same item diversity, he still has the Eclipse into Sundered Sky, Black Cleaver, Death's Dance. These things help Lee Sin a lot, and obviously naturally, when you're spiking in that 16 minute to 20 minute phase with a Lee Sin, and you're having map control for the petals, that, even though they're nerfed now, has a lot of adaptive force into a champion that just wants to push an end. The tools are there for him, people are still struggling to kind of use it correctly and figure out, you know, pressure points, but that will come over the next couple of patches. That's what we try and help people recognize. But for Lee Sin, jungle like you've always jungled early, keep that aggression, keep the counter jungling, keep the snowball, because once you spike in 2 items, ain't nothing stopping you. See, the Wukong, as soon as they reworked him last year, not the first time, that was terrible, they basically acknowledged, look, this champion is gonna always be great in the jungle with the map mobility he has. Yes, historically, we have seen, you know, that eyeball domination tree flexation. He has enjoyed building that to snowball and uses Q-bonks to basically eviscerate souls. Now that we have Sheen, we have Trinity Force, we merge it with Sundered Sky, we have Sustain, and again, much like Lee Sin and Virkayu, loves to skirmish, loves to be active, doesn't like to AFK farm, but is really good at maximizing experience, shutting down and shutting out enemy junglers, and taking over games. This is the common thread with all of these S tier champions. They can absolutely take over games with high tempo, highly controlled juggling. And now you might be thinking, well, shouldn't Graves be on this list? No, because Graves objectively isn't performing very well, and also without the utility of the Eyeball Collection lacks the same snowball potential as these other champions. He's often been reliant on it, whereas they simply are not, and they now get the benefit of Eyeball through the plans, accentuating their playstyle. Wukong can become invisible, he can go over walls, he can spin to win twice, his Q has a reset, and he's got a dash. Everything that is needed to 1v9. Hey, last year Hecarim was great and people were not playing it because they didn't like the builds, and honestly there were better things to play objectively, but if you were a good Hecarim, you enjoyed a great season. Now though, his win rate data is starting to catch up, play rate data is increasing, and people are realizing, whoa, the pony is back. Running that phase rush tech with a good old-fashioned Eclipse, that item's been eternally broken since the dawn of time, Black Cleavers, Shojins, Death's Dance, Zeke's Convergence, Sterax, Deadman's. There's so many ways you can go after core itemization. It truly is incredible how you can adapt to your game states with him. It's always been his thing, but it's really great now because of the power of the Atacant swings, whether it's an objective swing or it's just a swing in the minds of people who feel like they need to be somewhere, you know, fighting for it is irrelevant here. Hecarim can rotate and AoE and take down anybody anyway. But his benefit over the 3 above him is that he farms significantly faster in that mid-game spike. Well, sooner than that, but it's really about taking over the sequencing game. He can counter jungle you, yes, but he's really able to fight as much, rotate faster, control objectives just as well, while sequencing camps in between and maximizing that downtime. That's where he gets his huge slingshot leads, and that's why he is damn good. Skarner is damn good as well. High elo players and pro players are complaining that this abomination has not been gutted and shot. I think we can all agree on that one. He simply does too much damage, he simply has too much CC, and he also has map scaling. It's just such an obnoxious champion to face, to deal with. He becomes so unkillable so quickly. All the champions that rushed Heartsteel and so on suffered greatly. They struggled to get their power back because of the shifts to other tank atomization and directions. The example obviously here being the Unending Despair, which now has dual resistances, which is amazing for a champion that builds HP first, scales off of HP, and now needs both resistances and one itemization spike. Pretty huge. Right, just nerf the damage, man. Start there, please. Damage, though, is one thing that Diana can do. Actually, it's the only thing she can do. Well, I mean, she's got a CC, but most Dianas are using that, to do damage. Much like Hecarim has that ability to farm and sequence in between those downtimes, maximizing all of the camps and counter jungling possible, while still reaching fighting moments, taking objectives, and of course, snowballing really hard. She is effectively an assassin because obviously she can stack Conqueror super quickly. It doesn't really matter. She's got a lot of DPS over time. She can be in fights a long time. She can split push. She physically cannot rotate as quickly as Hecarim can, obviously, but what she can do is take over games with 1 or 2 little kills. So go look for that early gank, try and play her for counter gank, do not AFK farm. That is not what we're talking about. Hecarim as well. We're not AFK farming. We are enhancing our sequencing around the volatility of Season 15. And obviously, if you just want to gank a little bit more than farm, then you can go with the Jarvan. Basically a budget Wukong, and he's really strong, so that's a bit of an insult. But that's okay, he deserves it, he's Jarvan. A lot of easy gankings early if you want to do a right quadrant into some action. Great sequencing if you need that, because they buffed his passive last year, again, unnecessarily, but they did. And then obviously he's got that super creative for the AoE teamfighting. Very similar playstyle to the Wukong. Wukong is better, obviously, has better map scaling, mostly because he's unseen. But if there were a most boring jungler to ever talk about or ever watch, Jarvan would definitely be a finalist. Now you're thinking about Nocturne as well. I mean, to a degree, but Nocturne also gets to fly halfway across the screen and kill an ADC whenever he wants. He also becomes an unkillable demon monster whenever he wants. And yeah, he sequences a lot more, but bringing the darkness and stacking up your vision score with it and making everybody fear you, I don't know, it's kind of fun. Well, hey, look who's back on the A tier page, and that's because Kayn was freshly buffed to compensate for the lack of eyeball damage. When they bring back eyeball invariably, we have this big problem down the line. Remember this patch note. But yeah, 10% increase there on the Shadow Assassin bonus magic damage equals. Blue is now once more a little bit playable. Ras was always goated in this meta, supremely strong, excellent. Kayn as a whole, though, struggled a bit to get going, especially pre-form, and then when you got the form, you just didn't have the same oomph, right? So now they've given up a 10% bonus damage there on the passive. That is a magic damage, by the way. It is not physical damage, it is magic damage. No, you should not build Pan Boots. Yes, you can, please don't. But this just allows both forms to really be supreme because it's a great meta for Kayn. The original guy who can walk through walls, and you're telling me we have to rotate for stuff? You can't do it? Nonsense. Go in, go on, both forms, enjoy. Likewise, Kindred is really good this season. Loves to fight, loves to scale, has a marked snowballing system. Yes, runs Domination secondary, but, Sudden Impact, Treasure Hunter, Relentless. These are all fine choices. You don't need the eyeball. You don't really go the eyeball anyway. Could have, yes, sure, but those two are the better way to go anyway. So, loss of the middle tree, not of concern, and a lot of weird melee champions running around, and you're ranged. And Graves, even though you counter him, is not really in the picture statistically, so, nice. Next up, we have Master Yi, and despite the obsession with the crit Master Yi, we're just gonna go with regular buffs this time around. But they have buffed his attack damage growth by 0.3, and they buffed his Wuja style on hit true damage by a nice 5% bonus AD ratio. With Master Yi, you gotta be delicate with these things because they do come online very quickly, and it turns out they have come online very quickly. Not OP by any stretch, but the data does look better. His win rate has shot up. He feels a little bit more clean to play. Those kind of buffs typically give you a bit more edge in those close scenarios. You're able to get that extra early kill, that extra spike for an item, and that's where these kinds of champions start to roll. And obviously with the true damage buff, that means on hit is always, pretty good. Hey, you know who's looking really juicy? Amumu. A lot of people have said so. In fact, everybody is saying it. Amumu is strong champion, and he is, because he bleeds you down. He shreds your magic resist, and he becomes very difficult to kill. He's been a drain tank for a while now since they made those changes a couple years ago. Conqueror, Domination Page, Ultimate Hunter, Leandries, Abyssal Mask. He's not really just this boring tank you can evade and kill now. Champion's actually got a lot of oomph to it. Provided you can hit one of the 14 Qs you're gonna have up, provided you can hit that ultimate, which is the size of a UFO taking over an entire continent, you will climb with this champion right now. Bel'Veth is obviously a bit trickier to execute than Amumu. However, she's not always the most complicated. The shift in her power spikes last year, really helpful in terms of neutering the cringiness, right? The level 2 invades and the cheese strategies. But as always, it's still the focus. Get your 6, get your true form, and then annihilate the map, control the Autocan spawn and win. You are not thinking about anything other than that. Do your first quadrant gank if you want to, but if you can just sequence for an early 6 in true form, you will just snowball inherently. It's not always as exciting as it has been to play your PvP fisting, without thinking in the past, but it does give you a lot of opportunities in this current meta to thrive. And even though win rate data and play rate data is down compared to those times, 6 grubs plus a Herald, plus Ruinous Atacan, plus your Void Remora, you don't want that to win? I do. Warwick is obviously looking a little bit less attractive now data-wise, and obviously physically, since Arcane we will look at him differently, but the champion itself is solid still, really likes to run around and fist and fight, so why would you not pick him? The downside is maximizing experience. That's the problem, right? All champions here can play better than him by default, he still needs a Tiamat, but it's not about that. It's about knowing that you can spike with a few different itemization builds, and when there are fights to happen, as long as you actually get ahead early, you will snowball games well. When you are behind and you aren't able to snowball early, and again, that could be through whatever mechanism you want to use, ganks, counter jungling, invades, yeah, he falls off a little bit. That's why we have great objective systems to play around. However, the whole point is use the ability to take early dragons, use the ability to actually get in people's faces, play a bit more proactively here, play a bit more like Bel'Veth, and just keep your feet moving, yeah? Keep your feet moving, think about Hecarim, think about Bel'Veth, and manifest it into this gigantic beast warrior who's gonna drain and kill everybody and make them really frustrated. Because when people complain about Warwick on the social medias, it is really funny. Lily is here, it's not exciting, I know, but she does a lot of damage, she sequences well just like Hecarim. She is Hecarim light at this point, and her damage and her sustain and everything that she's always been good at is great here. These kind of kits are eternal, so we don't really have, say, a dominant, 16, 17 rotation of junglers in the meta that really define what's going on. Champions like Lilia will just typically show up because she's just good at everything. She has so much in her kit that allows her to do this with that percentage max HP damage, with her mobility, with her fast sequencing, and because of her AoE sleep, which is not, a defining thing, it's still a game changer when it comes to the mid and the late game. But I'm still gonna put Gwen here. No other jungler really stood out. Yeah, sure, you can put Graves as I mentioned. I just really don't rate him. I think Eyeball hit him a lot harder, and I've had no issue in anyone I've coached, scouted, worked with, spoken to, or played with, seeing a Graves be defeated. But Gwen, this win rate on her, even on solo play rate, is outrageous. Much like the Lily and the Hecarim, this is where she catches up with sequencing. But because she isn't as hyper scaling as she once was back in the day, you're really just looking at, hey, can I get 2 items and then just straight up win? Yes. Can I get to 4, 5, 6 items and be unkillable while killing everybody and having squishies and tanks all look identical to me? Yes? Well, that's why she's good. And on the low reload page, Darkness Rises. And now I'm not talking about Amumu's mind in his quest for friendship. Him, along with Nocturne and Warwick, make out a top 3 prize. Win rate looks really good, play rate's a little low. Definitely great in this kind of meta, but she still suffers from the same problems she always has done. The design was a complete and utter failure in terms of trying to make this champion good and low and high elo. It was never going to happen, not with a point and click shred stun, as well as that W reset mechanic. However, in low elos, mid MMRs, she's performing just fine. I don't think this is something you necessarily lock in and say, yeah, I'm going to do master tier runs on it, but for getting to gold and, a little bit around there, greatness. Diana, Wukong, and of course, the Valley Baba is going to be here. Liking what I'm seeing a little bit. Hasn't felt amazing, honestly, for a while since those changes many moons ago, but he is able to capitalize on the more volatile low elo game state and get those ganks going, and obviously people struggle with him when he's snowballing. They don't know how to count at W2s to heal, and he's able to get away with a lot of things that he struggles with in other MMR ranges. Champion is really average, he can be great, he can be not great. However, in low elo right now, do kind of like him for a little bit of the bare necessities. And on the high elo page, the necessity is to put Viego, numero uno, and obviously Lee Sin and Skarner, nobody's surprised. Wukong here, his win rate isn't good in high elo at the moment, low sample size obviously with this rank range, but champion is extra broken, don't think too much about it. Graves is the other one here that again, I could put him, he's performing fine, and this is where I'll say it finally. If you are good on Graves, if you are great at fleet footwork tech, if you are just simply good regardless of Eyeball being gone, if you are winning with him, keep going. Champion's fine for people that are great at him. But in high elo and in most elos, you could say that about almost anybody. But someone like Kindred is performing significantly better statistically, feels better to play, does more than Graves does, and can counter things like Hecarim and really piss them off. So lock in Kindred instead and enjoy yourself. Hecarim as well. Lock him in, run really fast and people and enjoy yourself. If you want to go map scaling, counter jungling, and snowball map control, Go back to Nidalee. Hero and Graves are a similar archetype in that sense, and Nidalee does it better than he does right now. And obviously we'll slap in the Jarvan here at the end, looking pretty good in this current fisting meta. Overall, as always, if you are good at a champion, you're climbing through Diamond and Master Tier, then keep playing your champion. He is great, you're great. But if you're looking to pick up something that is strong, one of the best performing junglers, that is your list. And don't forget, all of the to gank, to farm, or to fight questions have been answered in the video on your screen now.